I want to show you guys this. So I just covered basically the collaborative learning, which is basically the learning in class. And then just want to give you guys a heads up of the online homework. Okay, so each week they have collocation vocab and production chunk. So collocation vocab is actually vocabulary words taken from the articles that were used, or the articles that were used for that particular class. So so the words are going to be connected to the topic. However, if you get in your upper levels, especially Alpha and Alpha Plus, I would highly recommend them to actually look at the original article, not just the summary, because that's where a lot of the words are going to come from. Yes?
So the articles from the media library, or articles just like each page from?
Oh, articles in the media library.
Oh, okay.
Articles in the media library. So in the media library, they're going to see a summary of that, and then there will be a link where they can actually see the actual article that was summarized. So these words are coming from that particular article. So they might not see it in the summary, just because the summary was written a little lower than where the reading level is. There isn't really room to pull vocabulary words out of that summary. So it's taken from there. Then the production chunks are basically chunks or phrases to prepare them for either their argumentation or rebuttal. So it's basically sample phrases that they could possibly use for their reading or speaking homework. And then the odd weeks is a critical rebuttal. So basically, I'm going to show you a sample. They're going to see someone give a speech of the particular topic that they just covered, and then they need to rebut the 3 different arguments that speaker makes. And then on the even weeks, it's basically an argumentative essay that they have to write. So I recommend, because most students are going to really struggle with this critical rebuttal, I recommend just checking up on what their grades are, and even if you need to, like, cover it in class at the end of the primer to help them, to guide them on what they should be doing for their homework. Just because, especially with Eagle, they don't really cover rebuttal until week 6. Okay, they don't really. In the actual textbook. Okay, they don't really cover rebuttal until week 6. So for 3 weeks, they're given a task where they really don't know what they should be doing. So I would just really quickly when you cover rebuttal, when you give a rebuttal, you need to quote what they're saying, say it's wrong, say why it's wrong, and then end with a conclusion. And then maybe practice that in that primer, just so that they have a better idea of what they need to be doing for the critical rebuttal. And then for their test, for their level up test, it's a personal essay, very similar to all the story modules that they have done. And then there are some resources on that. Okay, so I just want to cover some of the portions of the actual textbook. Okay, so this is, so again, I'm not going to cover all this, but okay, so again, this is primary, this is homework. They're supposed to watch a video, take notes if they need to, and answer these basically simple questions about the video. So again, like I said, if they've already done it at home, I would just, hey class, what would the video say? And then kind of just go over the 2 different questions. And then again, these are the key terms that they need to know for the class, and again, a review. And then this is where they actually do the research. So The first class, I would definitely show them how to do this at home, and it's kind of different depending on the level that you have. For Alba and Alba Plus, basically if they just touch whatever perspective, it'll take them directly into the media library and it'll just pull up those 3 articles for them. Okay, and then they can just choose one of the articles for that. So that's for Alba and Alba Plus. For Eagle, since it was the first one and some of the functionalities were not available, they click a perspective. It will take them to the media library, but they just basically need to search that perspective that they want to do. And it'll take them to the 3 different articles that they can see. So at home, they're supposed to do this. So on day 1, you definitely need to stress to them, hey, we're going to do it together in class. I'm going to show you how to do it, but this is your homework. Okay? This is your homework for the class.
Is this the only homework they have, or do they have their actual separate homework with the speaking and stuff like that as well?
Well, they do have that online homework, like I showed you.
Okay.
But other than that, this is their homework. So, in my opinion, it's not much. Not much. So depending on the level of your students and who your students are, we recommend just 1 article. But if you think your students can handle more, I would say, okay, I want you guys to research every perspective, okay, and come up with just a summary of each of the perspectives and tell me from what you've learned, what do you think is the best perspective? Okay, so it is set up where they only have to do 1 article, but again, it's up to you if you want to add more to that. Okay, so this is the perspective frame for the Connect. Okay, and basically just an overview of all 3 perspectives, just a quick 5-minute conversation, 5-10-minute conversation of kind of background information and also you can connect this to previous classes because it's all, for every 3 classes they're all going to be connected with 1 overall main subject. Okay, and then this is where they learn their skill. They first learn, then they practice the particular skill. Okay, so this is the perspective frame. Okay, so the way it's set up is if they haven't done anything, you play the video, they can take notes, and then they answer the questions, okay? But if they've already done that, you can skip this top part and just go into the questions and discuss the questions. Okay, discuss the questions. When you click on this video thing, it's not going to play the whole video, it's only going to play that perspective, part of their perspective. Okay, then from there, for each of the first perspectives, they bring it down to kind of a pro-con chart for that particular perspective. So with this one, okay, so this one about school lunches, I think it's, I remember, government, business, or individuals should provide school lunches. So here it's about the government providing school lunch. So they give the pros and cons. There is a media library link here that, again, if they haven't done anything at home and they know nothing about this, there's an option where you can access more information if the students need it. But if they have done the research at home, basically coming up with the different examples or support for the different points. And then also, some classes I've seen, they've actually made this into a little mini debate. Just because they already had the 4 points there, and then they had it basically split up the 2 teams, and okay, you're going to be for the government providing school lunches, you guys are going to be against government providing school lunches. So there's different ways of approaching this particular section of the class. So the reason why this is set up this way is basically a foundational of, okay, one of the perspectives, and then as they go into each of the other perspectives, they're going to build on and compare and contrast between the different perspectives that they review. And then again, there's media cards available if you need them. Okay, so then we get into this second perspective frame. It's basically the same setup. You have some comprehension questions here that you can discuss. And then here, instead of having the chart of the 4 different reasons for pro and con, here they kind of discuss about individuals and then compare, okay, so we know about government and we now know about individuals providing school lunches. Okay, which is better for students or for society or for the school system or for, Korea. And here they kind of compare and contrast between, okay, should government provide or individuals? So they build on that. And then again, with the last one, again, questions. And then here they put all 3 perspectives. Since they have a good foundation of government and the individuals, then they add private companies. Okay, let's add this other section to it and see, okay, from what we already know, how does this 3rd perspective play into this debate or into this argument? Okay, and then they get into their project. So frame, they basically see what they're going to be doing in their project. And then this is where rhetorical device of how, where they learn some type of thing that they can apply to their speech or writing. And again, there is a link so that they can see an example of all that. See all that? Then they practice it. So they practice it before, and then they get into their actual project. So with the project, again, it's very similar to the C2 projects where they work as a class and then they work individually. Okay, and then let me just. Okay, so just want to quickly. Oops. Okay, so for the 3rd class, okay, so for the 3rd class, when they get in, when they do the actual debate. So as you can see, the Eagle book it has a slightly different design than you'll see in Alpha and Alpha Plus. So. But it's basically the same type of content and setup. Okay, so for debate, we have it right now as just a basically the format is a semi-public debate style, public format debate style. That's a little bit modified just because. And normally in a public debate there's a crossfire, but we've changed it to just, okay, instead of a crossfire, each team creates a rebuttal. So to help them kind of practice, create an argument, create a rebuttal for that. So now this is a suggested what's called format, just so that we're not really focusing on format, we're focusing on, okay, create a logical argument, create a logical rebuttal. But like if you have a really good Alpha Plus class, you've got to prepare them for masters. Feel free to modify this format to aided parliamentary if you want, which is basically the primary format that they use in Korea for middle school. So they kind of review the format or learn about the format, and then for Eagle and Alpha, and I believe in Alpha Plus, they basically just focus on argument and rebuttal. So for Eagle, for week 3, they learn how to create an argument. Week 6, they learn how to create a rebuttal. And then week 9, they review how to create an argument, review how to create a rebuttal. And then week 12, same thing. So again, here, instead of their rhetorical device that they're going to learn, they learn how to create an argument, and then they go into creating different reasons, and then splitting up their teams, and then preparing for the debate. So I guess, especially with the Eagle class, it is going to be a lot of hand-holding at the beginning, just because a lot of students aren't going to create logical arguments, and a lot of them are not going to create logical rebuttals. So I would challenge the students to be like, okay, just a sample. I see this all the time. We debate this just to kind of always show the students. You need to kind of think about what you're saying. We'll debate about smoking. Okay, and one team will say smoking is bad for you, and then they'll give reasons why. And then rebuttal will be, they said smoking is bad for you, but I disagree. And then they give their reasons. They try to give their reasons why. So they did learn that how to create a rebuttal is to quote, disagree, and give reasons why. That's the basic structure. But then also think about, okay, if they say something that's obviously true, you're going to concede to that, but then tell them why this particular argument does not apply to this debate. Okay, so kind of challenge them to think about, okay, what you're saying, and then also just work on their logic. So then debate, and then they have the primer for the next class. Okay. So, and then the primer, they're basically just watching the in-class, the first 30-second introduction, where they talk about the new topic, and then it briefly goes into the 3 perspectives.
Is it actually okay to have them start their homework for the last 10 minutes if you get further enough in the class?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. The only thing I've seen through different classes is a lot of times this is rushed at the last 2 minutes of class, just because the project is going to, especially for the debate projects, a lot of the classes are saying they're not being able to complete a full debate. So, but yeah. And I'll show you this. Okay, so I was talking about their homework, their speaking homework. So on every odd week, they for their online homework, they're gonna basically watch a video like this.
Madam Speaker and fellow debaters, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the proposition this House believes college athletes should only get full scholarships and not get paid. First, college athletes are already receiving athletic scholarships as compensation for their contributions. There is no reason to also give them scholarships. Doing so simply overcompensate a single individual within their school, when this money could be used to help a greater number of students. For example, I know a student who has his entire tuition paid for, in addition to receiving additional money as a student athlete. Is this fair? Absolutely not. Meanwhile, other students slave away after studies, dealing with student loans simply because they're not athletic. Second, student athletes already cost schools a great deal of money. Coaches for strong teams can account for.
Okay, so you have an idea of what they're going to do. And also, it's not going to sound like a chipmunk. Watch the video. Okay, so as you can see, we do help the students with their listening comprehension if they are struggling. And then this prompt here is going to be very similar to their rhetorical project prompt. Sometimes it's going to be identical, but it's going to be very similar to that. So if your students, I guess, are struggling with this, I would spend maybe in the private time, if you have some extra time, to cover, okay, we've talked about, student athletes, about getting scholarships. Let's try to come up with different rebuttals to maybe some arguments we might see, so that they can practice on creating a rebuttal for this class. So basically, how they're going to be graded is whether or not they can identify the 3 different arguments and then state why they are wrong. So if they at least can do that, they're going to get a decent grade. But then at the same time, they're not really looking for logic when they grade it. But I would encourage you to push that, just because many of the students are going to say they said they received compensation from athletic scholarships, but I disagree, because students should not get scholarships. So that might get a good grade, but that's not, a good rebuttal. That, and real quick, I'll just show you guys a sample of.
Do we have to, I mean, this is the one part I didn't look into. Do we actually have to record any of the debates or
No.
any sections of this class now?
No.
Okay.
You can if you want. The only reason why we didn't put it as a requirement was, if you're trying to judge a debate and listen, it's kind of hard filming while taking notes and then kind of like actually listening to what they're saying, because you're focusing on just filming them. So it is up to you, but it's not required. Okay, so this is an example of